going to read reviews later on in the show, but as a nod to our later segment, Miss Lee, if you are watching, we owe you an apology, maybe. So this sweet, sweet woman or lady, Miss Lee, 547, 2 weeks ago, she was like, I have no idea who all these ladies are. Some introductions would be nice. So Miss Lee, this is for you. This is for you.
Hi, Miss Lee. I am Elise McHugh, and I am a digital associate with the Daily Signal. I just do all the social media and fun stuff that you see online.
And I'm Virginia Allen. I'm a reporter here at the Daily Signal. This is good to be. We used to do this every single week of like go around serenade.
Yeah.
And then I feel like we just we got out of that.
Got a little caught up in our chatter.
A little caught up in the chatter. So.
This and Yap. I'm Crystal Bonham. I'm a senior advisor to the president at the Heritage Foundation.
I'm Elizabeth Mitchell, and I cover the White House for the Daily Signal.
And Elizabeth, the reason why we get to have you here this week is because Trump is in another country, actually 3 other countries. So we're going to talk a little bit about that here in a minute. He's in the Middle East. So finally, we're getting you on the show. You're a tricky one to nail down because you're always at the White House.
Bummer.
I'm so glad I can be here. Yes, it's a week off from going to the White House for me with Trump in Saudi Arabia, Qatar today, going to maybe Turkey to do some talks with Ukraine. Yeah. We'll see. We don't know yet for sure, but
and
definitely a big week. Yes, the UAE.
Yeah, huge week. Okay, so when did you reach the point where you stopped counting the number of times that you had gone to the White House?
That's a good question.
Because I've not reached that point.
I don't
can still
know.
Count them all on one hand.
I think that once I got one of everything in, of course, there's so many opportunities, so many experiences.
Wait, what do you mean one of
once
everything?
I got first time getting a question to the briefing, first time on pool with the president, that kind of thing. Like first time in the Oval, first time in the cabinet room, that sort of thing.
First time Air Force One.
I feel like, first time on Air Force One. Then you but it's still just so exciting every single day. I feel like it just never wears off you just never know what's going to happen. Trump could be doing a gaggle with reporters unplanned any minute of the day when he's in town. So it's always exciting.
Certainly never a dull moment.
No.
What is Air Force One like? You've ridden on it twice now, right?
Yes. So I've ridden on the bigger version and the smaller version. So I've been on both now.
Wow.
It was amazing. It's like, I would say first class, twice as good.
Really?
Is what I'm going to go with. They give you a beautiful plated meal with the presidential seal on the cup, and on the tray. And it's super good. We had a lovely Tuscan salmon when I was there.
Love it.
A lovely dessert. It was super good. Really fun.
You get the M&Ms.
You can get White House M&Ms. I'm getting a certificate soon for my first time on Air Force One that I'm going to hang up in the office.
They give you a certificate.
Fun. Yeah, they give you a certificate, which is really cute and fun. But it was a wonderful experience for sure. And the best thing about it is that Trump, like I said, he might always come back into the press area and do a gaggle with the reporters, which is just a great opportunity to be able to ask him the questions you have directly.
So you go ahead.
I want to ask your hot take because as someone with a lived experience of being on both versions of Air Force One, do you have a hot take on the newly gifted Air Force One?
Well, I honestly kind of have safety concerns about it because
it's a Boeing.
A gift from, there's that. There's that. And then there's also the Qatar tie. We know that they've been a refuge for Hamas leaders, given money to Hamas. And so it seems just like a little risky for sure to be tied with a country like that. But we'll see.
I'd be hard pressed to believe that, our friends across the river in undisclosed buildings are not just scouring that plane trying to figure out, are there bugs?
I'm sure they'll do their due diligence.
Yeah,
for sure.
Brake cord cut. Yeah. Checking it.
But it is much bigger.
It is.
So
I mean, he's been wanting to get a new plane. The other one, it feels extremely nice to me, but it's I think it's like 40 years old or something like that.
Really?
So he's looking to do an upgrade.
So when Trump comes back to speak to press on Air Force One, like planes are tight. Like in my mind, I'm like, that feels a little awkward. Like he's there and like all the reporters like trying to squeeze up around him and like get their question in. How does that work, or is it actually quite roomy?
You have hit the nail on the head.
Okay.
On the bigger plane, it was still crowded. We were kind of hanging onto the wall because of a little turbulence and stuff. But the smaller plane was another story of crowdedness. I was in like a middle seat, so I like got out and moved into the aisle. but I couldn't block the video cameras that were streaming it on NBC. The White House has its own feed for that. And so I had to crouch down. If I stood up, I would block one of the video cameras. And if I sat down, I would be uncomfortably sitting on another reporter. And so it was quite a workout. I was sore for days from just being in that like crouched position for like 20 minutes, and the stakes were very high for losing my position. So you're right, it is very crowded on there.
But that was the time you got like 3 questions in, right?
Yeah, that was my most
So it
recent
was
time
worth
on
the
there.
pain.
It's great because at the White House, there's usually a much larger group of reporters who are trying to ask questions, but on these trips, it's a much smaller gathering. And if Trump sees you, he's likely to go ahead and get a question from you. And if you kind of just say your question, he'll usually go ahead and answer it.
So I want to ask, what is your strategy? Well, you kind of just said it, just say your question, but do you have a specific strategy to get noticed by Trump, Caroline Leavitt, whoever it is?
A big part of my strategy is to wear bright colors. I wear this pink jacket sometimes. This is my lucky jacket. Never not gotten called on it with this pink jacket. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows if the streak will continue. I've only been there for 3 months, so we'll see. But I think bright colors is a big one that the eye will go to. And with the president, I think a lot of times it is just about go ahead and ask your question. Just be bold and
get in there.
Say, Mr. President, and ask your question.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have one more question. Do you have any hot takes on the new media specifically being in the White House?
I don't know. I think that I've heard that in the first term, there wasn't a big emphasis on new media, despite, of course, Trump had a similar agenda in the first term, but there wasn't really that big emphasis on giving new media a voice. And so it's been great to see that the access is open to just about anyone to get a hard pass to the White House.
Yeah, it's really wild. Favorite question that you have asked, favorite Q&A, your favorite question, favorite answer that you've asked Trump or Caroline?
I really liked getting to go into the cabinet meeting and asking about steps taken to implement the Department of Education executive order. That one kind of stands out to me because it was just so cool to be in a room with everyone, all the important people in one room. Elon Musk wearing one of his classic hats and everything. It was just a sight to behold.
MAGA.
Crazy that it's real. But I am proud, I will say, on one of my Air Force One questions, I asked about when he would be making more judicial nominations, and then he made 5 2 days later.
Nice.
So I felt kind of prophetic there, but he said he was going to do it rapidly, and he did.
So
Nice.
All of the Daily Signal's eyes are on him, so he's got to move fast.
Yeah. It's like that audience is watching. Well, like I said, you're here because Trump is not here. He's across the pond in the Middle East. And obviously some of the biggest news to come out of the Middle East, there's a lot of big news coming out of the Middle East right now. Where are we getting? It's huge. Tons of stuff nonstop happening. But on Mother's Day, some really exciting news broke. There was a final hostage, Idan Alexander, that we've talked about on this show, that had been a hostage for 584 days in Gaza. And I had the opportunity actually back in February to meet his mom, Yael. She was in D.C. for an event and sat down with both of Idan's parents. And I had the opportunity to ask her, I was like, what do you think you will say to your son when, after he has been in Hamas captivity for so long, when he's finally set free, what are the first words that you're going to finally say to him? What are those going to be? And she said, I don't think I'll be able to speak. I'm probably going to cry hysterically, like a toddler. I don't think I'm going to have words. It's going to be very, very emotional because I'm waiting for this moment for so long. And every day we are waking up, putting clothes on, and we're ready to fight again and again and again, and telling the story again and again and again. But I'm going to tell you that it's going to be a relief. I could breathe for the first time in a long time. So yeah, we are hoping that Trump is going to be tough and strong, and he's going to make it happen. And that is exactly what Trump did. He was tough and strong, and he got this deal across the finish line for Hamas specifically to release Idan. And it's so significant because it's significant on every single level. Idan Alexander is a 21-year-old born in Tel Aviv, grew up in New Jersey, but he was an IDF soldier. He chose after high school to go and serve in the Israeli Defense Forces. And he's the very first IDF soldier to be released from Hamas captivity. So very, very significant. But that moment that Yael Alexander spoke of just not being able to breathe, the weight being lifted off of her shoulders. We finally saw that moment come to fruition earlier this week. And I'm sure you all have seen it all over social media. It's just the best thing ever. So let's go ahead and roll this clip because it's so beautiful.
He's 21 now.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think too. I mean, he was 19 or 20.
He was 19 when he was taken.
He looked so young. I didn't realize.
He's a baby. Yeah. He's a baby.
Where was he taken from?
So he was serving close to the border of Gaza on October 7th. And that morning, like his mom texted him, was like, "Hey, are you safe? Are you okay?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." And then like that was the last time that they interacted.
From him.
Wow.
He was taken. But just an incredible. There was a question mark a couple weeks ago because Hamas said that the soldiers that were guarding him that they couldn't get in touch with, that there had been an explosion. And so there was a question mark of, is he even still alive? And so, I mean, talk about a roller coaster for these parents. Every time I've talked to the family members, like it's you kind of like you get your hopes up because you can't not, but with every turn of like, maybe we're going to have a deal or maybe they're going to be set free. And then it's another 2 months or whatever. Just such an emotional journey. And so there's still 58 hostages that are in Gaza. We know about, they were saying that for sure there were 24, including Adan, that were alive. Now they're thinking at least 2 are not because there's been 0 signs of life since October 7th. I think there's 21 that are believed for sure to still be alive, and the others recovery of the bodies. So just ongoing. And that is part of conversations, I think, and talks for Trump as he's in the Middle East right now, because so much goes back to Iran, the authority and power that Iran has. You know, when we talk about Hamas, when we talk about the Houthis, when we talk about these groups, really Iran is the puppet master.
Pretty common thread.
There's a common thread,
yeah.
and it's Iran. And for the U.S., having strategic relationships across the Middle East is key because it is such a hostile environment. And really, for so long, Israel has been America's only friend in the Middle East. And Trump is really working hard right now to strengthen those ties.
Yeah. I mean, we just saw on Tuesday, right, his very long speech in what's the name of the conference?
It's the U.S. Saudi Investment Forum in Riyadh.
In Riyadh, yes. I think it was at the Ritz. It looked beautiful. But it's this, meeting of the minds in terms of the business world when it comes to the Middle East and the United States and even above and beyond that. But one of the things for me that was so pivotal about his speech there yesterday was it really solidified this hard reset that Trump embodies when it comes to foreign policy, right? One of the things that stuck with me that I've been thinking about a lot since that speech the other day is this concept that the Middle East should be defined by commerce, not chaos.
Yes.
And I think that is the mentality that he is bringing, not just into, diplomacy and foreign relations generally, but in particular when it comes to figuring out how to put an end to this war in Israel. I mean, it should be defined by commerce, not chaos. Like how can we really facilitate this rising tide that lifts all ships so that there's, less chaos and infighting and more finding common ground.
And I feel like that's also been a common thread with a lot of the different things that the Trump administration has done, and just his strategies that he applies to a lot of politics is he applies this like very business forward mindset to a lot of political scenes, and that's something that you just like don't really get from a typical politician. So that's been really interesting to see from Trump and his administration.
I think it's that element of like money is a universal language. Like every nation wants to get wealthy, they want to make wise investments, and everyone recognizes if you can set up those deals in a way that benefits everyone, it does pull people away from that chaos because that chaos, terrorism, all that is antithetical to economic prosperity. And so it creates natural stability. So it's been wild to see already on this trip with Saudi Arabia. Trump announced a $600 billion commitment to invest in the United States. Really big news. This is mainly around like energy and technology investments. Trump was also very bold in speaking out about how he wants Saudi Arabia to join the Abraham Accords, which would be huge. There are 3 Middle Eastern countries, Morocco, the UAE, and Bahrain, that are part of the Abraham Accords, recognizing essentially Israel as a state, and that they're willing to do business with Israel. Absolutely huge. Qatar, they've agreed to at least $1 trillion commitment exchange, related to like economic ties. Really, really huge. So already lots of news coming from this trip. Elizabeth, I'm curious to hear from you. Like, is there kind of scuttlebutt in the White House or like conversations had among reporters about why Trump chose the Middle East for his first big foreign trip?
Yeah, he also chose that as his first trip in his first administration. So he's kind of keeping in line with that. But I think, like Elise said, there's just this effort to show the America First foreign policy abroad, that peace through strength message that he always says. And he approaches that like a business leader, making these deals with foreign leaders, treating them with a lot of respect, and making sure that his interactions with them lead to prosperity, financial prosperity in America. It'll also be really interesting to watch what kind of talks are going to happen there, because of course there are a lot going on in the world right now, and it's possible that he'll end up going to Turkey to speak with Zelensky, maybe Putin. We don't know if he's going to show up yet, about peace in Ukraine. So it's possible not only could he secure business deals while he's there with these Middle Eastern leaders, but also potentially negotiate peace in the conflicts that are occurring.
Wild.
Well, and dividing and conquering, right? Because all of this comes on the heels of Sunday night there being announced a tariff deal with China. And the markets went crazy on Monday. Then he's in the Middle East securing all these other deals. I think everyone, what the tariff situation taught us is that the power is truly in the Trump administration's hands to get people to the table to negotiate. And what we've seen this week is that people want to negotiate. And that's exciting.
It is exciting. Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Well, even announcing ending sanctions on Syria, huge, really, really big. And I think, again, so much of these conversations, everyone's looking at the Iran situation and saying, okay, what's going to happen here? Because Trump has said, while he's in the Middle East, he said, I want to deal with Iran. He's stressed that the United States wants to deal with Iran. It's all about ensuring that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. They're enriching right now like 60%. You get to 90%, and that is, I mean, you're live.
You're there.
You're there.
Yeah, I really like what he said about not wanting to have any permanent enemies. I think that's really in line with the founding view of foreign policy, which is that you don't want to have too strong of attachments or tensions with foreign countries. You want to kind of be in a position where you could have a positive relationship or a negative relationship based on what that country does, but not just antagonizing them permanently or needlessly. And so I think he sent a really strong message that if Iran is willing to come to the table and move towards commerce rather than chaos, a deal can be made. He's not going to hold grudges for the past, but if they do continue in the way they've been going, bombing other nations, supporting terrorist organizations, etc., then if the U.S. is threatened, the power of the military will come on them.
Yeah. And he did say something about that in his speech. He said, peace through strength, but you got to employ the strength or else people are going to forget that you have that strength. And I'm not afraid to employ the full force of the American military if anyone threatens America or our allies.
Yeah. You know what I loved about that too? Is a couple weeks ago on the show, we talked about the newer report that came out about how like a crazy number of our reservists are overweight and not fit for like military duty. And then you had Pete Hegseth come out and say like, our troops are going to be fit, not fat. And Trump was on stage at this conference talking about how recruitment for the military has just soared. Like it's gone. He said, it may be the most of all time, but we haven't gone back that far. I'm like, of course, that feels right. But it's kind of just this low-key flex to countries like Iran where it's like, we don't want a hot war. If anything, we want to find ways to, establish peace and not engage in conflict. Yeah. But like, if it comes to there needing to be a hot war, We're ready.
And, maybe people will be afraid of our military now that
we're becoming lethal again.
Yeah, they're going to be fit.
I like that.
Military lethal again.
But you have, I think there is no other choice when you're fighting an enemy like Iran that wouldn't hesitate to use a nuclear weapon. And I think it can feel very foreign in our Western mindset. Like, why would you do that? That's nonsensical. But when you're fighting radical Islamic terror, their mindset is completely different. There's no point for them in their theology, in their radical theology. Like there's no value to this life. It's all in the afterlife. And the only way to guarantee that you even make it to heaven is to become a martyr. So like the benefit is in dying for your religious zeal.
They speak a language rooted in action.
Yeah.
And words are often not action. So,
and that's why I am very hesitant with Iran, because Iran has made deals in the past with the U.S. and then they break them. So I would love to see, a positive deal that's a win for the U.S., that's a win for Israel, that's a win for the people of Iran that want peace and want safety and security and prosperity for future generations. And we have to recognize real evil exists. And it looks a lot often like what is happening with radical terrorism in Iran. So a lot happening in the Middle East, and it's not slowing down. Like we think, gosh, we also just had the India and Pakistan stuff blow up. Like we haven't even touched on that. I mean, it's nonstop. It's constant. But I was looking to see, I was a little sad that Melania is not on this Middle East trip with her great fashion. It's like, Melania, I'm sure she would be crushing the fashion scene if she was there. But we do have some fashion that we need to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Fashion news.
So it wasn't this past Monday, but the Monday before was the Met Gala. But I'm starting to see all these think pieces crop up about it. So no better time than the present to talk about the Met Gala. So basically, the theme of the 2025 Met Gala, which is a benefit for the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, the theme was here where is it? Superfine, tailoring Black style. And Vogue said that contemporary Black dandyism has been enlivening the red carpet at the Met Gala for years. So think menswear, suiting, and Wikipedia defines Black dandyism as a cultural movement and fashion style in which Black people use clothing and personal style, specifically the historically European sensibility of the dandy, as a form of self-expression and as a way to address societal limitations. So basically, Black dandyism was a fashion movement that was very counterculture. It was very protesty, and Wikipedia delved into this more. They said, especially in the Jim Crow era, that was a way to show that you were resisting. And the Met Gala thought this was a great idea to throw a bunch of white people into this theme. And it was just really interesting to see how they interpreted this. And I'm just really confused where this theme came from, because on the one hand, you really don't want to appropriate cultures. On the left, that's what they say. But then but
you also want to celebrate it.
You want to celebrate it, but then you don't want to make a mockery of it. So I just really don't understand
the logic behind it.
And then
confusing.
You are stuck with outfits like this. Sabrina Carpenter is serving brown M&M, which is nice.
I actually hate hers the least out of all the
Wait, really?
What about the Pioneer Woman? I feel like it's like a totally different vibe.
Lana Del Rey. I do like that, but I also don't like top right.
No.
Who is that?
That's
blonde?
Pamela Anderson.
Is that who you're talking about, the blonde?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so it's just very interesting. I don't really understand the logic behind
I feel like my face
this.
just looks so confused right now.
The actress in the bottom center, Lisa, she's actually a singer. She was in White Lotus. Apparently embroidered on her little underwear that she's wearing is Rosa Parks.
TMI.
Wait, who did she play in White Lotus?
She played Mook. The one, she's in the most recent season.
She's doing her hair so differently. I didn't recognize
I don't feel like Rosa Parks would appreciate that.
I don't think so either.
That's crazy.
And I'm just really curious what you guys think about this theme and just cultural appropriation in general, because we're told we're not supposed to do that. And then
But if
they
you're
make
in
this
Hollywood, it's okay.
Yeah,
Unless you wear
Well,
blackface.
it's the classic left, right? They're all a bunch of hypocrites.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, you can't do something, but if we're doing it, it's righteous.
Yeah.
We're doing it for the right reasons, and therefore that makes this perfectly justifiable.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, if it's on the red carpet, it's okay.
Right. You see Barry Keoghan in the bottom left square, and he's honestly, it looks very Asian, honestly.
Yeah,
It's not.
I know. I feel like he got the wrong invite.
I know, wrong event.
I wonder though if any of these folks have stylists or they're like comms people, their staff basically that are like throwing up the red flag at this theme. That are like, ugh, like maybe we don't lean too far into this because what if you get canceled? Especially if you're like a white actor or actress, right? Yeah. Like you could see how that could go totally sideways.
Hey, why don't we just bring back wearing pretty dresses? This is crazy.
Theme, ball gowns and suits.
Seriously.
Be classy.
That's not allowed anymore.
Cover your body parts.
So.
Yeah, wear pants.
Well, in contrast, the Cannes Film Festival, I think this week, said that they are no longer allowing sheer nude dresses. I think Bianca Censori with Kanye West wearing a literal nude outfit, nothing on. And they're banning big, long, flowy trains and big, ostentatious ball gowns because they're like, we're a film festival. We want people to be able to walk through and go see their films. And it's about the films. And they say that we have a decency dress code. They specifically said the word decency.
Love it.
Love this.
So it's quite the contrast between the I saw someone on Twitter say that the Met Gala is always just like the Capitol and the Hunger Games, where they're so in their own world, they don't even realize
100%.
how out of touch and how contradictory they can be. That's such a departure from the Cannes Film Festival, where they're like, hey, this is about the movies, show some decency, cover up your tits.
My favorite take from the Met Gala in general was that Justin Bieber skipped it to watch the Toronto Leafs play in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
I believe it.
Let's go, Justin.
He said Hailey Bieber went.
Oh,
He's
yes.
like, have fun.
You go.
I'm going to go watch hockey.
I
Bye.
have mad respect for that. One more reason why I like Justin Bieber.
Yes.
He needs some R&R time. He should be on Problematic Women.
Yes,
because I want to see
anytime,
him.
Justin. You're welcome. You and Haley, come on.
Seriously.
Bring the baby. We'll make
Very
it a thing.
Chad with their family.
Well, Crystal, you flagged for me. The New York Times had a very interesting hot take on some fashion recently. We have a picture of the cover.
Speaking of decency codes.
Speaking of decency codes.
Yeah, the
they
New
have
York
some
Times
trouble.
is not such.
Yeah, not quite. They have trouble with what MAGA women are wearing in an article. Can I wear a sheath dress without looking like a MAGA woman?
God forbid.
God forbid
I
you
think
look
it's
like a
just
MAGA
you
woman.
today, Virginia, in the sheath dress.
Wait,
Yeah.
oh.
I leaned into the
know
sundress
about
today.
what is she? I didn't even know about like
That
what
it was a
defines a
thing.
sheath dress.
I mean, just think about like what Melania or Ivanka or Caroline Levitt wear.
okay.
Like basically what this is.
AKA classy.
Yes. Traditional, classy, feminine,
Yeah.
take your pick of descriptor. But what this is like a someone in their audience wrote in a question, like fashion advice column. They're like, I'm so worried that people are going to think I'm a Trump supporter if I wear a sheath dress and a blazer or like whatever it might be, right? And so this whole article unfolds and it's this entire thing about, these conservative women are dressing in sheath dresses and blazers and this, that, and the other thing. They're putting on lipstick and mascara and they have their hair done. You might get confused for being a Fox News host if you own a curling iron, like God forbid. It
You
literally,
wish.
the advice given, show up messy. Instead of curling your hair or doing your hair,
Go ahead.
throw it up in a bun. Don't brush it. Like this is like literal advice from the New York Times. I'm like, what is happening here? We now have confirmed what keeps the left up at night, and it is strong, classy, conservative women. Full stop.
Well, it's because all the liberal federal workers are unemployed now because of Doge. That's why they get to look messy and unkempt all day. So
Oh,
Well, I'm like, this is great. Guys out there, hey, you see a nicely well-kept woman, she's probably conservative.
They call it like MAGA face. I'm like, I just can't. I'm like, just because you throw on some mascara and own a tube of lipstick, you're all of a sudden a fascist.
Yeah, this is unreal.
Like it's lost all sense of the meaning of the word. But thank you.
the better
Next.
advice for this
Never
woman would just be wear what you want. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Anyone can wear anything. Your style doesn't define your political views. Just do what you
Yeah.
want and don't worry what people say. But
Well,
instead, we get wear the
exactly.
messy bun.
It's a
Yeah.
good thing that people don't actually listen to the New York Times
Yeah.
anymore.
Mhm.
at least for
hope
fashion
they don't.
advice, that's crazy. Well, once in college, a few months ago, actually. Oh wait, no, that was a year ago. Wow. I was at a bar with my friends, and I was wearing Doc Martens, and someone from an a cappella group asked me if I was gay. And I was like, what do you, and I was like, what is giving that impression to you? And she goes, you're wearing Doc Martens. So you know what? I'm going to ask Vanessa from the New York Times, can I wear Doc Martens without someone thinking I'm a lib who's gay?
What's like a good, I'd love audience feedback on this though too. Like what's a good follow-up question for this woman who writes this fashion advice column at the New York Times?
Yeah.
Who received a question, if I wear a sheath dress, how do I not look like a MAGA woman?
What would you ask her?
What would you ask her?
What do you want her to weigh in on?
What women-owned, Black-owned, LGBT-owned business can I buy my sheath dresses from?
Find one.
This makes me so annoyed. I'm like, come on. It's business professional. That's not MAGA. That's just business professional.
It's just looking classy.
Back in the day, for us millennials, I think you brought this up a couple weeks ago.
Oh, this was what you wore to the bars in
college. We were literally wearing like blazers and pencil skirts to the clubs.
What? Are you serious?
That was the thing.
And the big Forever 21 statement necklaces.
Yeah, those
My
two.
sister, I saw many pictures from her day, and I was like, oh, I want to do that so bad.
I'm so glad that's not a thing anymore.
This is crazy news. I had no idea.
Yeah. We went
went
through it for y'all.
You might have to show me a picture of this.
I don't think any pictures exist anymore.
Well, we all know fashion is cyclical, so when that eventually does come back in style for, just casual after work stuff, MAGA women will be ahead of the curve.
There we go.
Yeah.
She does admit a sheath dress is convenient for going from the office to happy hour.
It is.
So consider styling it with accessories that are not traditional, feminine, or conservative.
Whatever that's necklace, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sheath dress with a cross necklace, definitely a Republican.
Massive
Seriously.
violation. All right. Well, let's talk about some reviews. We've gotten some very nice reviews lately. We've gotten some not so nice ones. So we're going to read both today, which I think will be very fun.
Bring it on.
Should we start with the nice or the naughty? What do you guys think?
Start with the nice.
Let's start with the
naughty
nice
ones. Are just so funny.
Okay, they are very funny. All right. So Natalie McKenzie, 3517, writes, young, wise, in touch women. Thank God. How sweet.
Amen.
We try. Charlie Lyons, 6090, writes, this group discussion was so refreshing to listen to. It's also relieving to know that not all young women are suffering from toxic feminism. Thanks to the 4 participants and the Daily Signal. So thank you for all of those who have left us kind reviews. Thank you. Please do so. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. It really is all about the algorithms. We say it often, but we're playing against a game against algorithms. So when you take a minute, whether you're watching us on YouTube, whether you're watching us on Rumble, or listening to us across podcast platforms, when you take just 5 minutes, write a review, let us know what you think. It really, really does help us. So thank you. But Elise, you want to do the honors with some of our not so nice
Bring on the
reviews?
haters.
Of course. Wolf, MK9. Wolf, this one's for you. Painful to listen to.
Ouch.
Maybe your headphones are broken.
But why?
But why?
Just painful.
It's criticism, not constructive.
We need more. Give us more.
Another one. It has a title and a text box, so they really put a lot of effort into this. Thank you. Shameful skewing of information and right-wing propaganda.
Oh.
They are genuinely problematic women.
Thank you.
Stop trying to drag us back to the Stone Age. Shame on you. I know that you cut up that Taylor Lorenz interview about Luigi to fit your bias agenda. Anyone with integrity sees right through this podcast. Unbelievable betrayal to your own gender.
Honestly, this is the highest compliment I think I could ever receive. Thank you.
I believe that we talked about Luigi well into the podcast, so they did stay.
They
for
stayed.
A lot of
Yeah.
it.
Thanks for listening. Honestly,
Thank you.
if you don't want to listen again, that's all right. You give it a chance.
Also, this isn't 60 Minutes where we cut up an interview with Kamala Harris and then get an award for it.
Yeah.
So, moving right along.
Moving
So
right
said.
along. And my favorite, this one's actually from a few weeks ago, but I have not been able to stop thinking about it since. All woman, ... I guess the logical takes are out the window.
Oh.
Quote, but no, really, tell me more about how you feel. End quote.
Do you listen to this? Do you listen to our program?
This guy just seems to have some unresolved feelings, maybe some past trauma with women in his life, and
He needed a hug,
We need-
instead he went to the comment section.
He wants more diversity, I guess, on problematic women. We need a man on the show for this guy. Well, we'll
maybe
consider it.
We'll consider it. You know what?
Consider it.
We hear you. We'll think about it.
It does just make you laugh. Like I think my favorite is you are genuinely problematic women. It's like It's
Yes.
our
bingo. Right on the money.
You got it. That's what we're trying to be.
I'm curious from y'all, what does it take for you to leave a review on something?
Oh, it has to be absolutely phenomenal.
I think if I had really, really great customer service, then I'll leave a review. And honestly, I think the only reviews I've left are when I've had really good customer service with like a Filipino lady, because it just reminds me of my mom.
Oh, that's sweet.
And I'm like, this lady was so helpful. She helped me get like a ticket to something and just answered my questions really quick. So yeah.
I don't leave reviews.
Yeah.
I honestly don't. I'm not like typically even logged into YouTube, so I
anything like Yelp, like no, like
I've
not
only,
a review girl.
I've only left one review in my life. It was for my favorite escape room in Orlando, where I'm from. I'm a big escape room fan. Just for a little side fact about me, and my friends and I left a very lengthy, glowing review of our favorite escape room and our escape game master, the guy who like gives you hints and stuff, for being positive and uplifting. And that is the only review I've ever left, and I plan to keep it that way.
Well, Elizabeth, I hid the key to this locked studio somewhere in here, so you have to escape.
I wish.
Go.
Do you leave reviews?
I have.
Okay.
I was curious though, primarily to see if y'all are like, I've had a terrible experience, so I'm going to leave a review kind of people, or like I've had a great experience and I leave a review kind of person. I always leave reviews on fitness classes.
Oh,
As someone that owns studios,
Yeah.
I'm like always curious about feedback,
Oh.
and so I always leave reviews. And I actually give constructive feedback in my opinion.
that's good.
Where I'm like, I really love the class, I love the format, blah blah blah. I wish that the tempo was a little stronger or something like that, where I'm like, it's actually like constructive feedback, not just like, I didn't like the music.
I think the type of reviews that do the best work, like angels on earth, are the women who, when I'm shopping for clothes, they aren't just like, oh, I like this, it was good quality, but they're like, these are my stats, like my height, weight, cup size.
Yeah.
This didn't work because it didn't fit. Like they just tell you everything, and I'm like, I see myself in this review.
Like
Thank
women
you.
that
I didn't
post
just
pictures.
spend this much money.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. Okay, now I have an understanding of how this is going to fit on my body.
I do read other people's reviews, and I appreciate that other people leave reviews. I feel like that can be really, really helpful.
Question of the day: are you a review girly?
Yeah. I make most of my decisions on restaurants based on the reviews. Like if something has below 4 really stars, I'm probably not going. Yeah. You got to put a stake in the ground on that.
That's true.
Well, thank you all. This is great.
We did
Pleasure to have you on. Thanks, Elizabeth, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Taking
Always
some time
great to
away
be on
from the White
PW.
House. We'll see y'all right back here next week. Again, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. So helpful to us. We love hearing your feedback. And hey, if you leave us a review, whether it's nice or not, we might read it on the show. We'll definitely read it if it's nice. We'll probably read it if it's not too.
Have a great week.